I'm not sure quite how to put this except in racial terms, and I hate racial. And you know what, Nico? I hate racial terms.
Yeah.
Because we're one race.
Yeah.
We're one race, right? We are one human race.
It's just an easy way to divide.
It's the most transparent, right? It's the easiest way. That's your point. It's the easiest way to divide people, right?
That's
Okay.
what I want.
All right. So then, here's what I'm running into, though. I'm running into the problem that I'm starting to have more feelings of white prejudice against white folks as racist or white supremacist things become more possible in our society. Okay. Does that make sense to you?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, me too.
You're having a little bit of that too?
Oh, yeah.
And then I feel bad a little, because I'm like, oh man, I shouldn't think that about these white folks. But then I'm like, no, wait a minute, I should think this about these white folks, because they're the ones who have created the context within which we're existing, the 450 years of colonialism, which has brought us to the point of whatever the world is divided into being their authorship.
That's the division they want.
Well, right, so now we're in the problem of thinking of them as an us or an us and them, when in fact we're all the same us, but me wanting them among us to agree with me that they have done something that is about helping themselves more than other races that they have defined, right? They'll put themselves higher, okay? Now, one of the reasons this came up yesterday is because we were talking about the question of why does Trump exist as a protectionist agent for white supremacists in the United States right now, is what we were starting to discuss yesterday. And I feel like one of the things I was coming up against in this discussion was what I think of as facts that I can't per se substantiate because I haven't done the full research yet, but it seems transparently the case. I'll give you an example that my friend has a Polish wife, okay? And she wasn't a citizen. And I have another friend here in town who has an Ecuadorian wife, or an El Salvadoran wife, another friend with an El Salvadoran wife. Each of them will have different entrances to the United States. The way, do you know what I'm talking about, Nico?
Yeah.
Like, being white and Polish, you're going to get in easier.
For sure.
See, he said for sure, right. We don't have stats for this right now because I haven't gone and looked this up, but I think it's fairly clear what's going on. The white majority, which, quote, founded the United States, right? And by founded here, we have a discrepancy, because over the last 40 years, we've all educated ourselves to realize, wait a minute, they didn't found it. They committed genocide, invented slavery, and created a context in which everybody living here before them was heathens and savages. And we can use these other people who are just animals to build it how we want, and we can finally be free. This manifest destiny, this city on the hill, this place. All of that is born out of a supremacy of the white man, who believes that they are better, who believes that they have evolved higher, that they are more civilized. When in fact, we believe now, at least I do, I can't speak for Nico, but this is what we were talking about when Oris was around visiting, that in fact it's the opposite. They were not the civilized of Europe who came here, they were the barbarians. They were the ones who denied God and king. Oh, I don't want to be ruled by this king. Oh, I hear there's land over there, I can just take it. I'm going to go over there and just take it. Well, I don't want to have this God dictate to me whatever. I hear over there you can just be whatever God you want. Okay, cool, so let's just go over there, take whatever land we want, and have whatever God we want, right? And that rationale is not a civilized rationale. It's a barbaric, savage, and conquering rationale. So it puts all of that into a suspect state. Now, let's flash forward. The whiteness, if you will, of the United States is changing. It's not going to stay white. Come on, it's becoming brown constantly by the internecine action of multiple different people from different places coming to the United States, right? You know what I'm talking about, Nico?
Yeah.
Like I have a, quote, white girlfriend, right, with a half-feed child, right? All these divisions that we talked about that are false. But anyway, the browning of America is an inevitability. But there is a power structure within white culture, okay, that does not want to cede power to this thing that they claim to have invented, freedom, and for everybody, and all men are created equal. They don't want to realize that when that's fully realized and they're minorities, this is going to be a problem. So what I'm thinking is that that Trump represents the very last effort of those particular white supremacists to link, you would need to link the whitest people over there, the Russians, the Polish. His wife is from what? Where one of those former Eastern European countries, right? To link them with all the whites in the United States and those in the other places like Australia, the Five Eyes, as the English people call it. New Zealand, Australia, England, the UK, and Canada, right? So now we're going to have a world divided into those countries and everybody else. And they're going to be the place where the majority of the time the message that the white culture has civilized mankind and pushed mankind forward is going to be the predominant attitude. In other words, if you come here and you're a good immigrant, right, then you don't start doing what you and I are doing, Nico. You don't start looking into things. You say, well, no, well, America's the greatest country in the world. That's what you keep saying. You keep saying, what do you mean? All the greatest inventions came from here, and the skyscrapers are here. Your job when you're here is to constantly tell it it's the best country in the world when you're an immigrant, right? Whereas if you start to diverge from that, you're told, oh, you get to say that because we have free speech. Yeah, but you're marginalized.
Yeah.
Right? You're not going to be invited on Fox and Friends or on... right, or on MSNBC, to talk openly about how you believe that white supremacy is an anti-civil thing. No one's going to welcome you to do that, right? But these aren't racist thoughts, are they? They're about power, I think.
Yeah, it all comes down to that.
Doesn't it?
They want to have more power than us. They want to show that.
Yeah, and I think that we have a real issue that in this country we're not discussing that much. We're leaving race in a place where it's allowed to fester instead of shining light on it so we can discuss it openly. And that's something I would like to see stop. And I do believe that this Russia connection between, DJT to me is just the face of it. But between the conservatives in the United States, particularly white male conservatives in the United States, who are trying to link with the Russians, as has been shown by the arrest yesterday, as we discussed, of this woman. She came from Russia. She was actively conducting espionage. She was working with conservative white people and the NRA, the National Rifle Association, to make connections between Russians and those people in the United States. And when I project forward to whether or not there's going to be revolution in the U.S., I never thought when I was younger that I would be afraid of revolution by white folk. You know what I mean? I never had that idea.
Yeah, that's weird.
But now it suddenly feels like you make them feel even a little bit like they're going to be in the minority, and they have the open right to have a revolution to put down, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, it's definitely happening. It's real. It's like, yeah, once you say how they get the minority, or they feel like minority, they automatically want to fucking fight back. But we get, like a bad rap for that.
We're uppity,
yeah.
Right? We're called uppity immigrants, right?
Yeah.
In other words, so there's something. So yeah, there's a collision here. There's some kind of weird collision going on between races, quote unquote, that have been defined by one of them, the white race, if you will, as defined to the others. So we're in a state now where I'd like to be able to discuss more of that. I don't know how to do it. I wish I was better trained at that. I think it'd be cool to be, like, race relations should be a subject matter. Now, not in schools, because if we're agreeing we want to erase race, E-R-A-C-E, the notion of race, then this is a struggle. Right there is even a struggle. Do you know the piece by Aamer Rahman?
No.
Well, we're going to play that today because I never get to... I've shared this for about 6 years now, and it's one of my favorite sort of things. Let me see if I can do this. How can I do this? I can do it with... oh, wait, you can do it with your phone. You're going from your phone, right?
Yeah.
Hey, do you want the password for this place?
No, that's cool.
Are you cool with what you got?
Yeah.
So if you go to YouTube, put in Aamer Rahman, and I'm going to make him do it so you all can do it too when you're watching this. A-A-M-E-R Rahman, put in reverse racism. Aamer Rahman, reverse racism, YouTube, and you can go ahead and hit play, and we're just going to listen to this together, folks. And you can turn it up. Yeah, that's it. Purple suit. Yeah, purple suit. You crank it up.
People don't like my comedy. A lot of white people don't like my comedy. A lot of white people say this to me. Hey, Aamer. Hey. You get on stage, you make your jokes about white people. You say white people this, white people that. What if I did something like that, huh? What if I got on stage and I said, yeah, black people are like this, Muslims are like that. You'd probably call me a racist, wouldn't you? And I say, yeah, I would. Yeah, you should never do that. That's bad for your health. They're like, well, you do that, Aamer. You do that. You get on stage, make jokes about white people. Don't you think that's a kind of racism? Don't you think that's dun, 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 reverse racism? So no, I don't think that's reverse racism. No, because I think reverse racism doesn't exist, right? If you ask some black and brown people, they'll tell you flat out, there is no such thing as reverse racism. I don't agree with that. I think there is such a thing as reverse racism, and I could be a reverse racist if I wanted to. All I would need would be a time machine, right? And what I'd do is I'd get in my time machine, I'd go back in time to before Europe colonized the world, right? And I'd convince the leaders of Africa, Asia, the Middle East, Central and South America to invade and colonize Europe, right? Just occupy them, steal their land and resources, set up some kind of, like, I don't know, trans-Asian slave trade where we exported white people to work on giant rice plantations in China. Just ruin Europe over the course of a couple of centuries so all their descendants would want to migrate out and live in the places where black and brown people come from. Of course, in that time, I've made sure I set up systems that privilege black and brown people at every conceivable social, political, and economic opportunity. White people would never have any hope of real self-determination. Because every couple of decades make up some fake war as an excuse to go and bomb them back to the Stone Age and say it's for their own good because their culture's inferior, and then just for kicks, subject white people to colored people's standards of beauty, so they end up hating the color of their own skin, eyes, and hair. If, after hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years of that, I got on stage at a comedy show and said, hey, what's the deal with white people? Why can't they dance? That would be reverse racism.
That would be reverse racism. That's Aamer Rahman from Fear of a Brown Planet on reverse racism. And I've played it for people for years. I think it went up on the net 2012 maybe. And he talks about how he was going to quit comedy. He and a group, he's an Australian. And although I don't think he'd identify as an Australian. One of his jokes is about how the Australian flags looks like it was made on MS Word. His whole thing is that it looks like they just took MS Word and took the American flag, I mean the British flag and the American flag, and they're like. But he was about to quit doing comedy when he did that piece on stage, and it was filmed and put on YouTube, and it ended up becoming an internationally viewed bit that I play for people all the time, and I hope that others, I hope you checked it out, and you do as well. But this idea, right, that the only way you could be reverse racist against the white colonizers would be to do everything they've done to us.
That's reverse racism.
Is the only way, right, by definition, because we're functioning as people who have been suppressed by that. And the argument of the contemporary white conservative is, no. Look at you. You were educated in American schools. You speak the way you do because of everything now. There's no more need for affirmative action. I mean, you're equal. Right? And on the face, that sounds, I don't know, how does that sound to you would be the question on the face of it. My parents were excellent immigrants. I've said that before on this program. They're unimpeachable. Every white, conservative, right-wing person in this town, which is filled with them, by the way, admired and loved my parents for being educators and teachers and good immigrants and who behaved and who never spoke ill in public about certain things and who looked the other way when they saw the open racism against the Mexican Americans here, for example, or Latinos. My parents didn't participate in that. They were too busy being good immigrants. They weren't going to rock the boat. And I think that there's something oppressive about that that is not discussed in American culture. We talked about the Soviet culture being oppressive when I was young, right? Soviet Union was all in black and white and gray, and people had to stand in line for hours just to get anything, and their world was miserable, and our world was full of color and joy and afros and roller skates and disco and freedom. But it's not really the truth, is it? Any poet who feels oppressed or who felt oppressed in Soviet Russia would feel, I think, equal. Even though I'm not in a gulag, I think that intellectually it's possible to feel equal to them in terms of our inability to communicate just basic human truths to the society we live in. Because the loud, overbearing message is, we're the best in the world, keep on making money, make money, do capitalism is the best thing in the world, you're free, freedom is capitalism, let's go kill those Muslims, anything we need to kill, we'll go kill because we're the freest and we got to give the freedom to people. That loud, vast, broad, and diverse voice is all of production. And when I go to look at a website that has a bunch of TV shows like Netflix or Hulu or something, or a website with a bunch of movies on it, right? I don't know if you've had this, Nico, but they put up little blocks like that. You can see it as a grid view.
Yeah.
And have you ever done this where you go there and, hey, I think I'll watch a movie, and you throw them up, and there's not one person of color in any of the grid view. Yeah. Every single program. And you can go pages like this, and there's not even one, it's just white, this white guy and that white guy having a problem, this white girl and that white guy, this white girl and this white guy, this white guy. And after a while you start realizing all I'm doing is watching stuff by them, about them. They've now succeeded in making me feel like there are them that exist.
How long has it been like that, though?
Well, okay, now, as long as it's existed, right? That's the point. We're living in their... that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Just like that's a metaphor, that page is a metaphor for what we're actually living in. We're living in a thing where everything is dictated by their stories to each other, and nothing that can threaten it, that can shake it.
Right.